because we're all at different points along a developmental sequence, like what we're able to consider, what we're able to attend to, who we're able to take into consideration as an audience or as the affected by our actions is, limited by our ability to perceive and to cognize, by that, like by how much we are able to experience and thus have the potential to identify with in our worlds. Like how big is the planet of our experience? How far is that horizon? And so, when we talk about the way that this is going to work is by organizing things so that everyone's incentivized to participate in a way that benefits everyone. Is it even possible to have that kind of... does not omni-consideration require omnipresence, like a total surveillance, or like perhaps like a shift in our consciousness as individuals that would be perhaps like difficult for us to contain psychologically? I mean, how do you see this being deployed, implemented?
Sure. So it's pretty hard for me to consider how to increase the quality of life of the creatures in another galaxy, because I don't have very much sense data about them to know how to do that. Fortunately, I also don't have the ability to affect them very much, so it doesn't really matter, right? Now, as soon as I start getting the ability to affect them, then understanding that matters. So I need my sense systems and my information processing systems and my actuator systems connected. If you think about, from an evolutionary bio point of view, it's never advantageous to select for sensory systems alone. It has to be sensory systems that then can integrate that sense info with the other senses and then be able to have information processing to inform choice and then have the actuator capacity to act on that choice within a closed loop of the ability to sense the effects of that choice and learn, right? And so information input, information processing, actuator output, closed loop. That's actually what gets selected for, is that triplicate. If I could sense something that I couldn't make any sense of, it would actually fuck me up. If I could sense something that I couldn't act on, it would mess things up, right? Similarly, if I could act on things where I couldn't sense the effect of the action, then I wouldn't be able to learn if that was successful or not. And so the triplicate of those is what defines the evolutionary adaptiveness of a creature. Now, what's happened for humans is that our ability to make tools, which means our ability to identify some of our capacities, our corporeal capacities, and extend them in tools. I can see the way that my fist can bang something. I can make a hammer that can do it better. I can make a wrench that can do what my grip can do better. I can make a telescope that can extend my eye, or a microscope. I can make an industrial supply chain that can extend my entire production capacities, right? I can make computational systems, or an abacus, right, that can extend my processing capabilities. But we can make these in isolation from each other, so the triplicate is not bound anymore. So right now we have a world where we have an amazing amount of sensory input possible, right? We can see stuff from the Hubble, we can see stuff from electron tunneling microscopes, and we can see input from everyone around the world on the internet. But that's decoupled from sense making. So when I read stuff, I can't actually tell if it's fucking true or not. I can't put it together with the other things that I know, right? And so I have a tremendous amount of sense input that I can't make sense of. Then, to the degree I make sense of something, like, okay, CO2 is actually a problem, I have no idea how the fuck to act on it. And then, to the degree that I act on things, like I go buy this laptop that we're talking on that comes from an industrial supply chain that affected life on 6 continents, I actually have no sense coupling to what the fuck was actually affected and how it was affected to inform if I want to make that choice or not. So it's our information processing system is broken open, which is fundamentally non-adaptive, and we're running exponentially more energy through that broken open information ecology. And so Omni-Considerate, we basically, when you said does it require surveillance, the sensory input and information processing and actuator output have to be coupled. If I'm affecting shit, I have to know that I'm affecting it and be able to factor it. If I'm not affecting it, it doesn't matter that much. So to the degree that our actuator technologies are giving us the ability to affect things in the world, we have to know how they're being affected and then be able to process that in a way that informs how we use that capacity.